Fishing is fun, but hooking is the only way. We're gonna show you how to catch some fish today.
Come along with me when I take you onto our family camping trip at Crowley Lake. This time we're targeting the Sacramento Perch. They get pretty big there, up to 3 pounds. They're great eating. We went on a multi-generational trip with from 2 grandmas being there all the way down to kids who are 8 years old. It was really great fun for everybody. The kids loved, this is a great way to get kids to learn to love fishing. Lots and lots of action. We were catching 100, 140 every day, and the kids were netting, having a great time. Up in Crowley Lake, the limit on Sacramento Perch is 25 per person. Of course, you don't need to take that many, but they're really good eating for fish tacos. For the larger ones, we steamed them Chinese style with ginger and green onion. So we went up right about 3 weeks after the opener, and it was really a cold winter with high water, but then they dropped the water really low when they let it out, getting ready for the Sierra snow melt. So there was a lot of change in the water level, so the trout bite was super off at that time of year. But the perch, however, were just starting to come up into the shallows, getting ready to spawn. And we found them where the weeds were just beginning. So you can see on this picture here, you can see here they like to go around the flats, and there is a really good tackle shop off the boat ramp, and you can ask them, they'll tell you where people have been catching the perch lately. It's always in the shallows. They do move throughout the day, or the bite gets better on throughout the day. So you can go and ask about where you should be catching, what's catching now and what they're using. So we went there, and there wasn't a lot of action when we went there. We didn't really hear of people catching a lot. But we found a technique that we kind of developed on our own. We didn't see anybody else using it, but it's similar to our drop and drag technique that I had done with Alan with Castmasters, but this time we were doing it with really tiny, small minnows. So on that technique, what you normally do in those weeds is you'll drop in onto the weeds, drop onto their beds, and you'll jig it. But instead, because they weren't on their beds yet and the weeds were just starting to grow, we were just throwing it on there, letting it drop all the way down. So you got to count for 9 or 10 seconds, say if you're in 10 feet of water. And then you just reel up and reel and stop, but you're just kind of dragging it. So you can just drag along the side and then stop. And then it's really slow, but it does trigger a lot of bites. And we were all able to limit out every single day we were there. And it was a technique that was definitely working. We talked to other people. People were just getting like 2 or 3 for the whole boat. And you know, our whole boat of like 8 people were limiting out. So later on in the summer, of course, the weeds start growing, the fish start getting up on the beds, but you can't really do that drop and drag technique inside the weed lines. But what you do is you just go outside the weed clumps. You can see very clearly the weed clumps, and if you have active target or even on your 2D sonar, you can see the weed clumps. During the summer, it starts to get very, very clear, so you can just visually see all the way down and look at those weed clumps. Just go outside the weed lines, and they will also bite there.
We're here at Crowley Lake. It's Memorial Day weekend, and we're gonna go try to find some Sacramento perch. I think they're on pre-spawn, so we're going to try a different way to find them. We'll see what happens. I also joined the perch derby and hopefully get a big one. First cast, 2 nice perch. It's going to be a great day.
I hope so.
So we're about 11 feet of water. You can see here is a fish. Here is a fish too. It could be trout or perch. But we find the perch are more at the bottom. These are just bubbles going up. So we know there's some fish here. On the 2D sonar, you can't really see what's happening. But on the active target, you can see real time what's below the boat. So because we can see them at the bottom, we're going to drag our jigs at the bottom. So what we do is we use some sort of jig. This one we like to use is the minnow, and you need to have a crappie nibble. Any color doesn't matter. And we toss it out. And so you have to let it sink to the bottom. That takes about a good 10 seconds. We're in about 11 feet of water now. And once it's in the bottom, you take your pole and you just drag it. So you're dragging the jig across the bottom. You're not vertically jigging it. Then you reel up your slack. And then just drag. Reel up your slack. And they generally will bite it on the waiting period. But the point is to drag it across the bottom. Do not jerk it up and down during this time. This is before the grass is really grown in and it's pre-spawn. Doubled up with my cousin, Leland.
I got one.
It's your third one.
No.
Ooh, yep. Basketball. How'd you get it, Mom?
It bit it. I actually felt it.
Were you dragging it?
I was dragging it, and then I felt. I was watching the rod, watching my finger. It's number 4 now. I'm trying to catch up with.
Fourth one.
He looks decent.
Tom's on 2. We got a double up here. Lillian just got one. Well, what am I doing? 2 hours, we're already at 40.
Oh, you fish.
Oh, that's a nice trout. Byproduct of perch fishing, you get a real nice trout.
That's great. That's a bonus. See, we come on to number 100 for the perch.
Yeah.
Denise.
I know. I want that one to be 100.
That one might.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna tighten out dry.
Oh yeah. It's down. It's down. It's down. It's down. Oh my God. Yes. So let's talk about what gear works for this dragging technique. We like to use minnow, anything in minnow shape. And usually when you're doing the vertical jigging, you're using something that goes down like this, maybe has like a little trailer on it. Instead, what worked the best for us were these Berkeley Power Bait minnows, 2.5 inches. I like the smelt color and also the emerald shiner, especially the emerald shiner in the morning when the water's a little bit darker. Also the black shad works real well. Not jigging them like you would for a trout. You're just really putting them, laying them on the ground and just kind of dragging along like a little minnow, just slowly going past the weeds. Also the Kitech Swing Impact, when it has a little paddle tail, if you want to jig it a little bit so it's just going on top of the weeds, that works real well. And also this color, and the Bobby Garland baby shad color. As far as jig heads, I like to use about 1/32 ounce. I might go up to 1/16 if I'm trying to drop it down in deeper waters or if I'm trying to play with depths. I do want to point out this. You know, they make the jig heads maybe in the same size, but the hooks are different. So look at the different size of these hooks. This hook is, it's okay, you'll catch something on it. I use this mostly for shad or trout, but look at the smaller hook. This smaller hook is much more productive for perch, and I highly recommend sticking with this hook. You can see how it looks here with a small hook. You can barely see that hook, but they still will bite it. Before August 1st, you're allowed to use these crappie nibbles on the end, and what it is, it has the scent on it and it makes them hold on longer. So the bite is really quite subtle. So when you get that bite, they'll spit it out immediately. So they hold on a little bit longer. You know, you can use chartreuse if the water is a little bit dark, white color if it's pretty clear water, and I like the ones with personally this green sparkles. This green sparkles is the magic nibble for me. Now, some people use just straight mono line. I like to use high vis line because, as I said, the bite is real subtle sometimes. Sometimes you just see your line go like this, or you just see your line swim away. You don't even feel them. So I like to put on high vis line. I tried this one. It's the Bass Pro Shop Crappie Max. The line works great. The diameter is real thick for 4 pounds, and it broke multiple times, just like in the spool or on the line. So I can't recommend it. But I do recommend this one, Mr. Crappie High Vis Yellow. That one works great. The nice thing about this one is it has multiple colors, so you can see every few feet how far you're out, and you really could tell your depth with this line. So it's a trade-off which one is most important to you. I always use 4 pounds. For rods, I like to use a rod that's a real
real sensitive tip like this. This one is a Phoenix Elixir. It's 7 feet. It's a 2-piece, and the lure weight's 1/3 to 1/4 ounce. I use this for everything: crappie, perch, trout. This is a fantastic rod, and the price point's not too bad. And just any ultralight reel. It doesn't really matter with all these fish. They're not running real far. You just need enough line to get it out there. This one works real nice too. This is a G Loomis IMX. It's a 7-foot. Fast action, 4 to 8 pounds, 1/16 to 5/16. So what I like to do is I like to experiment with what they're biting. I might put a 1/16 on the bottom with one color jig, and on the top I'll just put a 132, about 18 inches. And you'll see right away what they're biting, and that's actually a good way to experiment. And when they change, sometimes you'll see them eating dark ones and all of a sudden they'll switch to light. So I often just keep a light and a dark on so I can be sure to almost get one every few casts.
All by myself. All the dreams Denise have shown me finally paid off.
Oh, good job. Look at 2. This is our net man, Michael. He has netted 7 fish in a row, all at the same time. And just netted Edwards fish. 2 nice Sacramento perch.
This is Denise's rod.
Oh, I think he might be keeper. Is it Freedom Fred or keeper?
That's Freedom Fred.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, we always let some line out. Let some line out. Okay. 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 And then you walk backwards. Walk backwards. Walk backwards, and we got in. Woohoo! Michael even knows how to take the hook out. I have me a professional net man.
That was a pretty good arm grab, though.
Look at that. What kind of service is that? Good job.
The junior has come back.
Yeah, Junior's gonna get a freedom flip, I think.
Yeah, he's small.
Oh yeah, he's gonna definitely get freedom flip.
We're taking about 25 home for the 4 of us, but we caught a total today 136 and a couple break-offs.
I think we have 125 in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 40 at least.
One thing you need to be aware of in Crowley Lake is that it gets an afternoon wind that's vicious and it's dangerous. You can see boats capsizing on Crowley Lake, so I would say you might go out at 6 in the morning, and by 11 or 12, 1 or 2, you're off the water, because when the wind starts picking up, just go on in, because it's really not safe to stay out there. And there are little areas, and they'll show you from the tackle shop where you can hide out and maybe fish. But when the water is low, the fish aren't there, so just go on in and enjoy the rest of the day elsewhere.
Cloud moved in and we're rained out. Going in.
The cleaning station. The Filet Master Gorman.
Hello.
So beautiful here. It's Bridgeport. Well, I hope you enjoyed our family trip to Crowley Lake. If you're ever interested in taking your kids out or getting somebody interested in fishing, that is the #1 spot to go to. The perch, they bite all throughout the summer. That just gets better and better, and they get bigger and bigger. They just had the perch derby. I didn't place in the perch derby. I entered a couple of them, but they weren't winners, but it was great fun, and I highly recommend you try it. And they're great eating. Fish tacos, you can pan fry them panko style or steam them. They're excellent. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.
Fishing is fun, but hooking is the only way. We're gonna show you how to catch some fish today.